Hi, John. It's Wednesday today, 7th of October 2014. I just want to let you know that Jamie is away at the moment. Her mum's in hospital, and so she's missing in action to give me a hand with our work. We're just a little slowed up at the moment, so bear with us till she comes back. Okay, so I just want to mention about where we're at with the 61 Cook Street. Just did a bit of going back into time of Admiralty in the Cape of Good Hope in South Africa. That's where the Admiralty started off. The term surrogate judge was a commander on a navy ship that exercised his own powers of Admiralty in a court of justice. So that's where we're acting in that capacity directly to King William IV. There's not much mentioned about him because they've cut the Admiralty off at 1860 in Westminster backwards, but they cannot cut the continuity of the monarch off because he's still there with us in the commercial contract. Liam, under this search and seizure warrant that they were practicing in the Cape of Good Hope with unruly people there from Britain. So the Navy took charge, and we're going under that title before 1890. That's when they brought in the Colonial Courts of Admiralty. That virtually wiped all the Admiralty back down to Westminster under the Lords. Alright, under the Lords, King's Lords in the upper house, where the authority came from. So that all matters who has the authority from where. In New Zealand, they're following after America and Australia. So it went from England, the Admiralty went from England to Cape of Good Hope, South Africa, and then it went from there to America. And then it went from America to Australia, and it never got to New Zealand because the Australians are usurping that title through from the Cape of Good Hope under this Admiralty that's called the Vice Admiral. Okay, Vice Admiral is not a real admiral. They're going under an assumed authority to exercise the powers of the King of England, which is us. We're the surrogate king, okay? That's the title I'm using. Now from the 1859 College of Advocates 1859 Act, that's where the advocates come in. So you've got advocates, surrogates of the King of England, okay? That's who we are to speak for the King over and above the judges. Okay, from his authority, right? Because he put the mortgage liens documents through together to go around the world on free passage with this flag. These flags, these are the only flags that carry the King of England Admiralty title under King William IV. Okay, so the Acts of 1890 went from there through the Tudors being the King of England and the King of Scotland and the King of Hanover, okay? And now we're calling it the King of Aotearoa, New Zealand, because we've got the only one's got the contract with him. So 1860 Admiralty moved to Westminster, okay? There we go. Admiralty went into Westminster 1860. That's where the racket started with this mortgage, seizing properties, okay? Seizing land, seizing memorials, seizing. We're going to seize it all back into the hands of the King of England. Trust, not the Queen Victoria Trust that was set up for us in 1844. That's a contract. That's a contract that I've got to sort out with the Queen, where that money's gone. Alex Salmond is gone now as the Prime Minister of Scotland, and but he was wanting an audit of HM Treasury where the money is gone from this Prized Possession Act from the 1860 onwards. Okay, so you've got English Supreme Court Act 1981, and you've got the South African Act of Admiralty 1983, linked with the Admiralty Act of Britain at 1860. So we're using those acts in our 61 Cook Street seizure property now to the Commissioner, Police Commissioner, Mike Bush, our authority over the paddle. The paddle is their Admiralty coming through Cape of Good Hope through to America and through to Australia. Nothing here, no paddles here, but they have borrowed it from Australia and New Zealand. You're not allowed to do that, not in international law. You've violated the international law by borrowing sovereignties, borrowing the Native Land Act, and borrowed our Native Land Act 93, Te Turi Whenua 93. You won't find a 93 anywhere in the world with native and specific to the point. So they consolidated us, compromised us, you can pay for that, into their titles in Australia, which is illegal, and then they compromised the Supreme Court of the Admiralty back from Australia to New Zealand, because with this paddle, okay, we're taking the paddle out, okay, John Key, we're taking your paddle right out of the equation and going back to the seal of King William IV. You'll see things on Facebook now that I've put there that are justified. What I'm doing to breach your New Zealand Acts of Parliament is that you breached them in the first place. We're showing a breach on top of a breach of the South African Cape of Good Hope Admiralty that you're breached, both breached, and America have breached the Admiralty of King William IV. Okay, it's gonna land up back on King William IV. Everything mortgage liens and borrowing money, prized possessions come under that act. Queen Victoria. Okay, Queen Victoria, you'll see Queen Victoria acts all the way through with the paddle, and they're using King George III on their paddle. Okay, King George III, he was mad in the end, he was gone in the head, okay, but he was the longest serving monarch, but he wasn't an admiral. He was not an admiral. Only King William IV was 50 years in the Navy and knew everything about sailing on the seas and carrying stuff. Okay, so we're using to our extreme his acts of Parliament, you'll see there, for things we do legally. Okay, Section 121A of the Supreme Court Act 1959, Restitution of Land Rights Act 22, 1994. So these are just some of the things I'm looking at today. I'm going through them with Jamie. She's picking up very quickly, and also Desmond, my nephew, he's picking up very quickly as well. So a couple of things here. I'll just mention the 1858 English Laws Act. Some of the laws I'm putting there with the 78 pages that I've put on Facebook is the warrant for 61 Cook Street. A lot of work is going into establishing where they got their authority from, where they got their jurisdiction from, and their constitution that they have none of, really, no constitution to base their facts on. Bank Charter Act 1844 UK, Paper Currency Act 1856. So these are some of the acts of King William IV that I'm using in our lineup. of levy liens against everybody whose name's in the box. So we're using the pound note and the printing machine. In Australia they've got a printing machine, or we'll buy one straight from Alibaba in China to print the pound note off against all the debtors at 61 Cook Street. I'm just making this public announcement to Chris Phillipson. He's the new GCSB Minister and the new SIS Minister. You see what they're doing? They're using him for the treaty settlements and now using for spies, right? So they can hide their fraud. They're not going to hide the fraud. They've got their own police private prosecutors, which is illegal to be an ordinary person and being a state person, contract, commercial lien business at the same time. So they're conflicting themselves. They're going to come up against King William the Fourth authority. Now, online, that court that I'm using, online is straight to the High Court of Admiralty in London. Okay, so we're using the same as the captain, commander of the Navy authority as a surrogate judge. Okay, that's what I'm acting as, a surrogate judge and advocate. Okay, so we've got the acts for those here in our right to use it on Facebook, and also in our legal claims of levy against everyone who's breaking our acts. Okay, so that's about all I wanted to say, other than to wish Jamie Patrick Stewart Ngatai's mum a speedy recovery. Just been admitted to hospital last week, some heart problems, something I went through at the same time before, but have recovered sufficiently enough to carry on with the work. Be careful about that. So we're still travelling to London. Matt Taylor, if you're listening over there, with John Patterson and George Lees, and been listening to your videos, very good. So we're on the same wavelength when it comes to Scotland pulling out and going independent, a good idea. And join up with us and this flag. This flag will send you right around the world with free passage and take it off the Vatican and the Queen and anybody else using this flag, because it belongs to us contract. Okay, it's a commercial lien that we have the right to seize it from anybody using it, and that includes the British government, where we're going to take it. We're going to Plymouth to put it up and open King William's Court there and start printing the pound note as debtor instruments against all the fraud people in the world. And those figures, 970 million trillion pound notes in gold bullion, still stands. Okay, it stands, and we can print against that. And before the Agenda 21 takes over and gets rid of the US dollar, we've got you caught right in it, and you can't get out of it now because we've billed you and made it public. Okay, the breach of the Commonwealth law. Right, you've got the Commonwealth courts, and you've got the other court I just said before, and so we've got plenty of things to throw at this lot, and law for law. We're going to test your law against this law that we still hold with King William in a contract with the British government. Okay, so that's something of where we are today. I'll wait for Jamie to come back so we can finish off. Hopefully those people down the East Cape, Tamati Reed, and the other ones there, Sunakura, waiting in Gisborne. I'll try and get through this, because this is the last bit that's holding me up, is the Police Commissioner Mike Bush telling him what we intend to do to take that land is not a pushover. It's not. We're not taking things lightly here. We're being very careful how we speak legally in New Zealand law. We've got New Zealand law, Australian law, this is Admiralty I'm talking about, Australian Admiralty law, mortgages, and South African law, Cape Good Hope, and American law. Those are linked together to the British Westminster, okay, in this what I'm doing. So I'm going on the British law, land laws of England, okay? we're basing all our legal authority back to the King, the highest, and the King is in the High Court of Admiralty. That's just the collection agent, the creditor, is us, the gold dragon, you see. We use that as the gold of God's gold, and the creditor to debtor everybody. When you see that gold thing beside you, it's a debtor instrument against your name, okay, online. So we're using the medium of Facebook and Twitter to get this across to people, what our intentions are to investigate and private prosecute anybody who is violating King's orders. Okay, so we're using King's Bench over Auckland, and once we do one land title, we're going down to the east coast to have a meeting in Lisbon with the local hapu there and public, of course, and then to the East Cape, Rangitukia, to have a meeting there. We'll have a meeting in Auckland finally before we fly off to London, to Plymouth, and meet up with the boys there. Then we'll prepare that before we go in Plymouth. So I'll use the same warrant on King William's properties, seized them, and turned them into courts of debtors, instruments against this flag. Okay, we're using this flag to base our authority of King William and also the jurisdiction of Admiralty to get around the world, free passage. Okay, we're using all these tools and legal options to do the commissioner in New Zealand, the commissioner of this, the commissioner of that, is an authority from Britain, okay? And they can't say it's from somewhere else and decide to do things their way, because the origination of Admiralty comes from Britain. So they can't pull off and do their own thing without a higher authority that we are using, okay? So that's about all. I'll just wait for our mate to turn up, Desmond, and so we'll carry on, continue, and put more things together so that we can get on with it and try to resolve the issue with this land block. To Aaron Pascoe, watching the video, I've gone past you now because of what you said to me in your letter. You're in the box now, so your name is up against my name, and we're going under the New Zealand laws. Right? I'm going to show you what we intend breaching when I walk onto that land and seize it under this Act of Cape of Good Hope. Okay? It can't matter if it's legislated out of acts, but in Britain, yes it does, when you've got contracts. Thank you very much. That's our call. I'll see you later. Bye for now. And be good. Bye.